Hey there, it's Bobby Legs, and welcome to another episode of Bobby Legs Loves Watches. And today I will be reviewing the Yema Superman 63. Back in 2018, Yema released a Superman 63, and it was a nod to their divers of the early 60s. You could tell by this design that it looks like a 60s dive watch. It has that vintage look. Several other brands had a similar look. Who did it first? Who knows? I mean, the OR 65 obviously came out, I'm assuming 1965. The Yema Superman 63, I'm presuming they're claiming it came out in 63. I'm sure that's all true. I did try to look up on eBay to see if I could see any Yema vintage dive watches, and there was one that came up that looked like it could have been a Yema vintage diver of 63. It definitely looked like this watch. It was beat up, but the seller had one review. So I'm not sure if it was real or not. I think it is. I'm assuming that it is. Anyway, I'm sure somebody will correct me in the comments below and give me the whole history of the Yema 63, and I welcome that. Please do so. I am not the be-all and end-all watch expert, but I try to give my honest opinion. And if I don't have all the information, I apologize, but at least you know before we start going here. So why review a watch that was limited to 1,000 pieces that you cannot get on their website new, that you could only find in the pre-owned market here and there? Well, I haven't had a Yema on the channel, and they've been blowing up my social media feeds for the last year and a half. So I just didn't get a chance to get one, and I wanted to get one. I was intrigued. It's a French brand. Wanted to check them out. It just didn't happen. And then recently my friend Scott from Scott's Odyssey YouTube channel suggested I take a look at it and review it. So here we are. So let's jump right into the specs. Now, they came out with two versions of the Superman 63, a 39 millimeter and a 41 millimeter case diameter. This is the 41. The lug to lug on this, as I measured, is a 49.3, and you do have holes at the lugs here for easy strap change. I gotta say, I was wearing this on a rubber strap for most of the week, and the changing of the bracelet and the putting on the rubber strap and vice versa was probably one of the easiest strap and bracelet changes that I've had with any watch. So that was my experience. I'm not the best at it. I'm definitely, get frustrated at times, and I try to be very, very careful, of course, especially when a watch doesn't belong to me. But it was really, really easy to go back and forth. So kudos to Yema on that. I measured a 13.4 millimeter case thickness, and that goes from the bottom of the screw down case back to the top of the sapphire crystal, which is box double dome. And look, you get to see that the warped at the edges over there, as you can see here. Pretty cool, kind of like another throwback to the vintage plexiglass look on some of the older divers. Now, like I said, I measured it from the bottom of the screw down case back because that's the actual part that kind of touches your skin. Now, the lugs do ever so slightly curve, but it's not like some of the other watches in my collection or some of the watches you experience where it kind of hugs your wrist a little bit more. It really doesn't do that. It just kind of sits on top of your wrist. But at 49.5 or close to 49.5 millimeter lug to width and 49 millimeter case diameter, it's not so bad. The watch, wears fine for me. It is on the thick side, but it is a 300 meter diver as well. So you're kind of going to expect, a little bit of thickness there. Although, the sapphire crystal kind of plays into that. If you had a flat sapphire crystal, you'd probably get it under 13. Anyway, 20 millimeter lug width. Now the bracelet, at its widest up top here, is 23 millimeters as I measured, but it tapers down pretty aggressively down to 15.8 is what I measured this H-link bracelet. The clasp at its thickest was 17.6 millimeters, and it is a fold over clasp milled here with the Yema Y there. It is a push pin system. Yeah, so kind of the disappointing on that. You do have micro adjusts here. The tool that I use or have used, I couldn't find. I think my son grabbed it and ran off with it. So I didn't want to measure. I didn't want to take off any links on Scott. I was wearing it mostly on a rubber bracelet, and I'll throw in an image of it on wrist later. But if I don't have the right equipment, man, I really have a hard time with this push pin system. So I didn't want to take a chance. I think you guys could understand that. But having had experience with bracelets like this, I'll tell you that I can guarantee that this was a very, very comfortable bracelet, especially how it tapers down so aggressively around the wrist. Now, I weighed this watch on the strap, and it came out to 96 grams. On the bracelet with all the links, 150 grams. I wouldn't use all the links. I'd probably take about 3 on one side, 2 on the other. So my guess is probably around 135 grams it would weigh, give or take. I have no authority on how much these links weigh. That's just my guess. Anyway, your mileage may vary. You do have a nice little Yema symbol case back here. See there, and also you have the Y on the crown. The crown itself is around 6.5 millimeter case thickness, and aggressively knurled. And you do have these crown guards here, which is a little bit different. I'm not sure if the classic Yema Superman had crown guards or not. Typically, from my memory serves me correct, a lot of the vintage divers did not have crown guards. They just had, the crown. But whatever, it is what it is. Speaking of crown, and this is going to be a segue to the bezel now. Quickly, the bezel insert here. Well, the bezel has sapphire on top here. But in order to move this bezel, rotate it, you have this lock here, right? And you have to unscrew the crown, and then you see that how it popped off, and then you're able to change. Now the bezel action is really good, and I get it. This is kind of like a feature of some of their vintage dive watches that have the crown guards. I really haven't, or the not the crown guard, but the bezel guard, let's call it. I don't know. I mean, it's not for me. I mean, I like to, time stuff with my bezel, like when I'm cooking or whatnot. I mean, I actually use my diver's bezel all the time in all my watches. So this is a slight inconvenience. Is it a deal breaker? Maybe. It could be. It could be for some people. It might be even for me. First position, you pull out, we'll change the date. The second position, first position to wind, second position is to change the date, and third position is to change the time. Let's see here. Now, this watch is powered by the Sellita SW200, which is a 28,800 beats per hour, 26 joule movement with a 38 hour power reserve. Let's take a look at this dial. Because this is really the star of the show here. Let me get those hands out of the way. Come on, Bobby. You're better than that. Let's go here. Okay. Yeah, see, this, I gotta tell you, this guard here is a little bit of a pain in the neck for me to move stuff with. This gets in the way a little bit, my thumbs here. I don't know. That might be just me. Okay, so let's just screw this down here. So Super Luminova on the indices, and the indices are really like I said, they're really the star of the show. You have the 12, 6, and 9, and then the number of the hour, the 12, 6, and 9 digits there, and the indices acts like a little bit of a background there. So it's really, really cool. I like this look. The Aura 65 has this. I know that Zodiac had a vintage diver release that also looked the same. Very, very cool. Especially, if you're really into that look. These reissues are probably right up your alley. You have the hour hand and the minute hand with the looks like a little like a little dash in the middle of the arrow there for the minute hand. The second hand also with a little bit of red pip. You got a Yema Superman 990 feet automatic, and France. What I like, you got these minute markers, and the hashes on the minute markers are rather long compared to some of the other watches that I've reviewed and owned. And actually, I dig it because I could accurately, when I was setting the time earlier today, I could, really get this minute hand right exactly on the hash and in a clear, visible way. So kudos on that. That was a very nice move there. You do have the date window here. Now, it's kind of like a stark white background, so it doesn't really mesh with the vintage tone of the Super Luminova. I guess that's okay, and not a deal breaker for me, but it is what it is. So let me throw this on wrist, and like I said, it's not sized for me because of the push pin thing. I just didn't have the right tools, and I didn't want to mess around with it. But other than that, I think it looks pretty good on wrist, and I'll throw in the shot with the rubber strap here as well. It's good. It fits good. It sits on top of the wrist, and it's a little thick that way, but it's not that bad. I would have to say a few things that are negatives are definitely the pin system here on the bracelet is definitely a bummer. I think I don't know if that was the case with the original vintage diver that it had that, but there's some, you don't have to, there's some things that you can you can have a little bit of license with, and I don't think it was been that big of a deal to throw in some screws here. It's just way easier and less stressful for guys like me. The bezel and rotating the bezel, having to unscrew this lock. Yeah, that is a bummer. I get it. It's what their vintage, their older divers, they had that, so they want to kind of replicate that. But I can seriously do without that. Otherwise, I really, really like the look of the watch. I kind of dig the vintage dive look in the modern interpretation, because you don't have the vintage headaches that you might have if you are searching for vintage. Particularly, I'm scared to buy vintage, but I think I'm gonna have to make that leap one day. I like the look, and I haven't had an Oris 65 in the channel, so hopefully maybe one of you guys will reach out to me and say, hey, do you want to borrow mine, because I don't have an apt comparison for this similar style and whatnot. But it will do. 300 meter water resistance, not so bad. Easy to change the straps and bracelet, not a problem. Comfortable bracelet, although the clasp is all right. It's I've seen other guys say that it's in other videos saying that it doesn't really match. Yeah, there's a whole lot of other bracelets out there that the clasps don't match out there either. So I guess when you're paying $11.99 new with this on bracelet, maybe you should expect a little bit more. Pre-owned, I saw somebody selling this pre-owned a few months back for around $700. So you may be able to get a nice little discount in the pre-owned market. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. I would love to hear what you have to say about this particular model, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Take care.